Okay. Okay. So I tried recording this, but I realized that I forgot the title that I was referring to, so I wrote it down. But okay. There's kind of like a few different things all wrapped up into this one thing. Um, I'm slightly annoyed because the title um wasn't essentially I'm being a fucking grammar Nazi. The title wasn't grammatically accurate. You know, pretty much it was this dude and a cop um went to talk to him because he was holding an umbrella or some shit. According to the video, the little bit that I saw of it, and the mom pulled out a camera to start recording. Pulled out her phone to start recording. Same difference. Difference that when you think of it, just if someone pulled out a camera, they pull out a literal camera. Well, if you pull out your phone, you pull it out to record it. Anyway, um, the title was, um, it was questioned by cop for holding an umbrella. Weirdly enough, the last bit was grammatically fine. An umbrella. Yeah, that's how you would say that. That's how you would write that. But it doesn't make sense. Which, I mean, in a way it does, but in terms of like the way people normally use words, doesn't make sense. Um, you know, it was questioned. It should have been questioned. Ed. By a cop. Like about one singular cop. What? Sorry, I yawned. I'm tired. It's basically 2 in the morning or like 1 in the morning. I've gotten in the habit now of, like, I don't know why it happens, but it doesn't matter if I go to sleep at no, it does. If I go to sleep at 2, I wake up, or no, if I go to sleep at 12, I go to sleep at 2. If I wake up at 10, I go to sleep at, or I wake up at 12. I For some reason, for the past few nights, I'll go to sleep, have extremely, like, not deep dreams, but like vivid dreams, and I will wake up 2 hours later. But I feel like I've slept the entire night. Not that I'm rested, but like the dream that I had, I feel like I should have had that dream and then woke up and it would have been morning or something. You know what I mean? But it's weird, you know. Um, like the one I had this time, I was on a bus, and I think I was probably a kid. I don't know, but I was on a bus with like a bunch of other people, kids. I don't know. Um, and then I don't know. She was like a popular girl or like an important girl figure of some kind. I don't know. But she gets off, and as she's getting off, she's looking at me or something. Well, no, yeah. What the fuck am I talking about? Yeah, she's looking at me. But as she's getting off, as she's walking down the stairs to get off the bus, but it's weird because it's like think of like someone walking downstairs from an upstairs from an upstairs location in a house, and how the stairs can have a railing where like you see the person essentially slowly decrease in view. I don't know if that makes sense. Um, but it's kind of that situation, but you're on a bus, and it's that type of thing where there's kind of sort of a railing, but not really. But their head slowly or their mass is slowly fuck. The view of their mass is slowly shrinking as they're going further and further downwards. But she keeps looking at me, um, and then at some point, she says, "Thank you, Mister." I'm not gonna say my last name. I don't feel like it. Um, and then I remember like feeling as though I like no, yeah, like I couldn't stop smiling and laughing because I remember I couldn't stop smiling, and I started laughing towards the end because I was slightly uncomfortable, but it was a discomfort that came from a shyness and essentially just feeling flustered. That's all I can really say. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But that happened because now when I'm trying to remember it, it's kind of vague. But essentially, I saved her from something or I helped her from something. I don't fucking know. But it was something on like school grounds that happened or something. And then, um, and then later there's like this outside party thing happening, and she's sitting at those like weird tables out like that are at like parks and shit, where they're just metal tables that have like this plasticky whatever the fuck around it, and there's holes all throughout the entire thing. But it feels like metal but rubber at the same time, and the seats are uncomfortable, and they're just long. It's just a long bench, pretty much. It's like a giant picnic table, but it's not wood. It's just holes throughout the entire thing, like small holes throughout the entire thing, and they're metal and rubber kind of. Some of them are just metal though. But she's sitting at one of those. I just remember feeling nervous the entire time. And I was going to eventually walk up to her and sit there, but then I never did it. At the point where I thought of doing, or where I was eventually going to do it, I looked up and she was gone. Um, yeah, and something else happened, which I don't want to discuss. But yeah, um, yeah. The thing I don't want to discuss was essentially kissing someone that you're not supposed to kiss. Essentially, that sounds so vague and borderline fucked up if you automatically assume the worst. But all I can say is that we were both of age, but it just made everyone uncomfortable that we kissed, and it was fucking weird. Yeah, but it was more so like weird because the two people. Well, it was weird because me and the other person. It's uncomfortable for those two people to kiss. But from my perspective, I was just confused as to what was wrong. You know. Plus, I didn't wait for the rest of what someone said in terms of like where they wanted me to kiss the other person to finish, pretty much. Um, but yeah, that's super vague. I mean, if you want to know, I'll tell you, but no one watches these, which is good. And by the time someone does watch this and asks me, I will have forgotten. So, boom. Um, yeah. But I think it's just little things. So like it's the grammatical inconsistencies that slightly annoy me a little bit, and I think it comes from a place where I because I just don't know. I don't know what's going on the other side. Pretty much, English may not be their first language. Okay, but it also just feels like it also just feels like maybe it's purposeful rage bait, to so that there's comments talking about it. You know what I mean? Just an engagement, just a slight engagement boost. Like some people genuinely do it, and it's just weird to me. It's so weird and odd where people will purposefully put mistakes in their video so that people will comment on it. But at this point, because everyone knows that's what they're doing, now it's just annoying when people do it, because we all know you didn't have to do that. You made a choice to do it, you know? And it sucks because even when you don't comment on it, you still think about it afterwards, And the only way to avoid it is just stop watching the shit, which is ultimately the smart thing to do. You shouldn't waste your time just watching bullshit, you know? Granted, depending on the person, they will tell you that everything you do is bullshit. You know what I mean? The people who don't enjoy the existence of money, they will say that everything you do in the service of achieving money, of achieving this paper that people say has value, or no, achieving this paper, no, fuck. Everything you do in service of gaining this paper that we all agree has value, is pointless because they don't like money. They don't like blah 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 aspects, capitalism or whatever society or modern society or whatever the fuck, right? And the people who do like money will say things that you're doing that doesn't make money is bullshit. You know, like ultimately it doesn't matter. You can't win with humans. All you can do is do what you want to do for whatever reasons you want to fucking do it. You know what I mean? The moral police will tell you that you can't hurt other people no matter what because blah blah blah, humans deserve second chances or blah blah blah, you just can't do that. You know what I mean? But then you have also on the other side, you have vindictive, more crazy than the average humans where they will go straight to, I'm going to say the most, they will go straight to threats if any little thing happens, you know, to the point where, you know, and then some of them will think, oh, this person's a bad person. I can say whatever I want to them and it's not going to matter type shit. You know what I mean? Or they will just deem people bad people, this vague fucking term, because there's one little thing about them that's fucked up. Or there's one major thing about them that's fucked up. But at the end of the day, humans aren't characters. They're not characters in books where we make specifically one way or we make one maybe two-dimensional. You know what I mean? Humans aren't just people that are always the same. Humans aren't, fuck that, it's not even humans. Every, like, a being that exists is not a being that understands any and every aspect about themselves. They don't remember who they were at 5 years old. They don't remember every little thing that happened yesterday. You know, they don't know why they do every single little thing they do. Mistakes happen, fucked up things happen, fucked up thoughts occur, intrusive thoughts occur. You know, impulsive thoughts and impulsive actions occur. Even when you learn a lesson or you've told yourself you finally learned a lesson, you may do the same exact bullshit in a different way 3 years later. You know what I mean? Again, you don't remember who you were or what you did at 5 years old. That can happen as well in the span of years, in the span of days. You know, and there can be multiple factors to having a bad memory. Yes, it could be drugs. Yes, it could be you just having a fucked up childhood. Yes, it could be that you were destined to have a fucked up memory because that's how your brain works. You know? In my case, I understand the darkness of humanity, but there is also a part of me that still wants to believe people. You know what I mean? What I mean by that is I want to believe that people are being honest for the most part. You know what I mean? For example, I did a fundraising job for like a week or something. It was for this hospital in a plane thing, right? And there was this little dude that I worked with. I forgot his fucking name. Oh no, Vaughn. I still follow him on Instagram. Overall, cool dude. But he definitely hit with the commission job going good bug type thing. You know what I mean? Definitely. Which understandable. If you're good at sales, you're good at sales. You know, um, which is like cool. You know, but it's not my thing. You know, it is not anymore. Not at this point in my life. If it was like 5 years ago, yeah, cool. I could have been the fucking gleeful idiot that loved talking to people and doing sales. Yeah. But that would have also just been me lying to myself and forcing myself to be uncomfortable all the fucking time. And slowly, I guess, eating away at my, I guess, mean people tolerance, pretty much. You're gonna deal with a different amount of just mean humans, people, on a day-to-day basis. Um, when you do retail work compared to when you do outdoor sales. You know what I mean? And it's so fucking out. Well, it makes sense. You're in different environments and you're in different places. Retail, you're gonna see a lot of people that are just in that area. So realistically, you can't afford to be mean to someone at a store that you go to relatively often. That, and you have a different kind of people that are going to go to a place to buy either food or clothes or whatever, compared to someone who's out trying to buy coffee or out going to a business or out going to a ramen place or going to get sushi or cake, you know? And then some people are just assholes. Some people will do some fucked up shit to you. And then when you're rightfully upset by it, and then go and talk to them later, then they're gonna make it out as if you're the bad guy for talking to them. You know? Well, that's because the people inside didn't know what just happened. So all they see is you're the upset one yelling at a lady when she just flicked you off for no reason. You know what I mean? Granted, one could see your reaction and deem it extreme, but if they could read your mind and see your life, it wouldn't be extreme. But no one can do that. No one can see your life. No one can read your mind, so it doesn't really matter. And once technology inevitably gets to that point, it won't matter by that point. You'll have long been over it, you know, for the most part. You know what I mean? Time doesn't really heal wounds. It just kind of gives you perspective on how little it mattered. It matters in terms of it makes you who you are over time. Like every little thing compounds into who you are, but it doesn't matter as in you're not dead, you know? As in life goes on. You know what I mean? But at least current me, whenever I think about the situation, I just get pissed off. And I partially get pissed off because I relate it to another situation where there was a girl I worked with, and there was like twice or a few times where like she had public, not outbursts, but she had public, like, I don't know, the only way I can really say it in a way that makes sense is like she made a scene in public, pretty much around in the work environment. She made a scene around her emotional distress. It's understandable that it happened, but you should also just try to contain yourself as much as possible and then wait until after work or just not come in, you know? Again, it was during the sales thing, and that was because another coworker of mine she was with, and ultimately we have no idea what he's doing behind the scenes to her or what's causing her to act this way. But all we see is what she's doing, and how not erratic she is, but how yeah, I mean, I guess for lack of a lack of better words, emotional she's being. You know what I mean? Or I guess how outwardly and dramatically emotional she's being. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. I'm not. That's not to say like, oh, he's hitting her and shit. No, it's just when you're someone who loves someone and you get attached to someone, and a person acts as if you're cool one minute and then you're not cool the next, then it'll fuck with your head. You know what I mean? You know. So yeah, but it makes you think of that. You know what I mean? Basically, it's the tired trope of one kid pinching another kid, and they do it so much, um, regardless of how many times the victim is telling them to stop, that eventually the victim screams at them, but the parents or the adults around them anywhere never see the kid pinching the other one. All they saw was the kid screaming at the other one. So now they have it in their mind. This kid's fucking a little off. Like, why are you screaming at the other kid for no reason? And the other one plays dumb. It happens again. Same situation happens. Now they're screaming. Now they scream twice. You know. Then it happens again. Now they scream the third time. Now in all the adults' minds, that kid's just a screamer. He just goes off for no reason. And the other one's an angel because they never see anything that happens. You know.